You've been feeling it, haven't you? The shift in the atmosphere, the pull in your spirit, like something ancient is reaching for you by name. This is not your imagination. It's not a coincidence. This is a divine summons. And if your soul is trembling right now, it's because your scroll is being unsealed. You thought you were buried, but heaven says you were planted. You thought the silence meant you were forgotten, but obscurity was God's protection, not punishment. You were hidden because what you carry is too costly to be exposed too soon. And now, the vault is opening. Picture a key turning in an ancient lock, dust falling from hinges that haven't moved in centuries. Not a vault of gold, but of purpose. Not just wealth, but the reason why you were chosen to carry it. This isn't about money. It's about mantle. It's about mission. And you were created to carry both. Welcome to Echoes of the Chosen. Not just a video, but a divine intersection. A place where hidden ones awaken. A place where silence ends and scrolls begin to speak. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "It is the Lord your God who gives you power to produce wealth, to confirm his covenant." Not for ego, not for empire, but to fulfill what heaven wrote about you before your first breath. Stay until the end, because what's being revealed in this message may explain the patterns, the pain, the waiting. You're not just being blessed, you're being entrusted. The scroll is open, and the vault is overflowing. The hidden inheritance, the divine marking. You were marked before men ever knew your name. Heaven whispered your purpose long before the world gave you labels. There was a moment in eternity when God looked across generations and selected you. Not because you were the strongest, the loudest, or the most qualified, but because you carried a blueprint in your spirit that only heaven could see. The evidence has always been around you, but often hidden in plain sight. Early resistance, strange warfare, doors that opened too easily, then slammed without reason. People who couldn't explain why they felt threatened by your presence. You were not rejected. You were revealed, and then hidden again. Joseph had a dream, and then he had a pit. What looked like a fall was a divine descent. Because when you are chosen, the dream arrives before the dungeon, and the code of favor comes with the target of betrayal. You weren't overlooked. You were concealed in the folds of divine strategy. Every hardship you couldn't explain was heaven protecting the seal on your scroll. And now, the seal is breaking. The wilderness of delay. The seasons of silence. God's chosen are not rushed. They are refined. You prayed, you fasted, you believed. But the answer came in whispers, in delay, in silence. This silence wasn't empty. It was saturated with surveillance. Heaven wasn't ignoring you. It was watching your response. Would you still worship without reward? Would you still believe without applause? Moses spent 40 years in Midian, not because he was disqualified, but because leadership without wilderness becomes ego without oil. The hidden years are holy. They strip you of the need to be seen, so you can finally see clearly. When God delays, He's not punishing you. He's aligning you. The silence wasn't rejection. It was rehearsal. The throne cannot come before the cave. The oil does not flow until the crushing begins. And in the silence, something sacred was growing. The refining room, the fire and the forge. There is a fire that doesn't destroy, it defines. You've walked through betrayal that bent your soul. You've buried dreams under layers of grief, disappointment, and quiet despair. But what you lost wasn't wasted. It was weaponized. Gold doesn't argue with fire. It yields. And in the furnace of affliction, the impurities of doubt, pride, and fear are burned away. So only purpose remains. David was anointed, but still had to dodge spears. Job was blameless, but still had to sit in ashes. Jesus was perfect, but still had to bleed. You have not failed. You've been forged. Your scars are not shameful. They are sacred signatures of survival. The fire was never meant to end you. It was meant to expose the version of you that can carry the weight of glory. And the forge has finished its work. The warning in the waiting: spiritual consequences. Every delay has an expiration date, and when God calls you to rise, delayed obedience becomes quiet rebellion. Esther almost remained silent. Jonah ran. Saul forfeited his crown by offering what only a prophet was allowed to touch. This blessing, this billionaire mantle, is not about accumulation. It's about assignment. And the enemy knows that your yes threatens entire regions of darkness. That's why he distracts you with comfort, fear, and counterfeit visions. What you ignore now may cost generations later. Heaven is not casual with calling. Every delay in your obedience delays a door for someone else. And every assignment left unfulfilled leaves a region unevangelized, a family unrestored, a scroll unsealed. The time to hesitate has passed. The mantle of power, supernatural authority. When God releases blessing, He also releases weight. This billionaire blessing isn't just money, it's a mantle. It is the divine permission to occupy spiritual and societal gates with authority. Luke 10:19 says, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions." This is not just about overcoming, it's about occupying. God isn't just trying to free you from poverty. He's raising you to govern provision for others. David didn't ask for Goliath. He was sent. Esther didn't crave royalty. She was positioned. You don't need a title to walk in power. You need permission from heaven. And you already have it. You don't beg for what you were born to command. The moment you realize that your voice carries weight, the atmosphere begins to shift around you. And this is the moment of awakening. The kingdom blueprint. Heaven's assignment. The blessing isn't just flowing to you. It's being assigned through you. God gives wealth to those who will release it into the earth like seed, not those who will bury it in fear. You are called to build, to fund, to launch kingdom systems that outlast trends and transform generations. Solomon asked for wisdom, and God gave wealth as a bonus. Why? Because wisdom stewards wealth like a sword, not like a trophy. This is not about luxury. It's about legacy. You are not a reservoir. You are a river. Heaven is trusting you with this blueprint because your heart survived the wilderness, and your hands are now clean enough to carry the tools. Your assignment has been released into the earth. The gathering storm, the rise of the remnant. You are not alone. Scattered across the nations are others like you, hidden, tested, forged, and now rising. The sound of awakening is not isolated, it is echoing. Gideon's army was small, but they were ready. Elijah thought he was the last prophet, until God revealed the hidden remnant. You are part of a generation that refuses to bow to fear or blend with compromise. The wealth coming into your hands is not a private gift, it is a public assignment. This blessing is not a spotlight, it's a signal flare for the others. There's a remnant rising in media, in finance, in education, in family systems, and your alignment is activating their acceleration, because the call was never meant to be carried alone. The ripple of glory. Echo activation. You were never just meant to succeed. You were meant to echo. This blessing, this mantle, is meant to awaken scrolls in others. Your testimony is not the end. It's the spark. Your overflow is not just provision. It's a signal to the weary that God still chooses, still speaks, still moves. Like Paul's chains that turned into letters. Like Peter's failure that turned into fire. Like Mary's womb that carried the word. What's on you is not just for you. Your obedience will echo beyond your lifetime. And now the sound is being released. A sound that will not return void. You thought the blessing was about arrival, but heaven reveals it was always about becoming. What you asked God for was provision, but what He gave you was permission to build, to lead, to carry glory through the gates of influence and leave the fragrance of heaven behind you. You, chosen one, have not just survived the fire. You were reshaped by it. You endured the silence and it made your discernment sharper. You walked through delay and it deepened your trust. You were hidden not because you were forgotten, but because you were holy. And now the scroll is sealed. Heaven has confirmed it. The vault is open, the mantle is falling, and your name is echoing in the courts of eternity. You have been marked, you have been forged, and now you are being sent. If this word was your confirmation, if something ancient in your spirit awakened, comment 777 below, not as a gesture, but as a decree. Tell us, what part stirred your soul? What line felt like it was written only for you? Subscribe to Echoes of the Chosen, because what you've received today is only the beginning. A remnant is rising across the nations, and this is your place among them. You are not alone. You are the next echo.